The X-Men teaser for Avengers Doomsday is finally here. This is not a drill, it's actually here for real this time. After leaking over a week ago and just having to sit there waiting to finally see those glorious images in HD, Marvel has blessed us with this teaser, and god, does it hit even harder in HD. This is easily the best thing to ever happen on January 6th. The Fox X-Men are back, and Surreal doesn't even begin to describe just how insane this really is. That's the Fox X-Men looking the best they ever have, and they're going to be in an Avengers movie in a meaningful way. That's crazy. Never in my life did I ever expect to see Professor X and Magneto together on screen as the Avengers theme plays in the background. This is the kind of stuff you could have only seen in fan fiction, and now we're watching it in a multi-million-dollar blockbuster. What a world we live in. I know Kevin Feige has been waiting for this moment his entire life, considering that one of his first big breaks was working on the first X-Men movie, literally sneaking comics onto set, and now he's given the opportunity to finally do them right. More than literally anything else we have seen for Doomsday, this has helped to raise my hype levels back up for the film. As a trailer, this does such a great job teasing the destruction that's about to come as the X-Men are roped into the MCU through a clearly devastating incursion. They even destroyed the X-Mansion, which, honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud, isn't that big of a deal. It pretty much got destroyed in every single X-Men movie. At this point, I would be more concerned if the X-Mansion wasn't destroyed. Now that would be a true sign of the end times. The big takeaway about the X-Mansion's destruction, though, is the fact that you can clearly see the feet of giant Sentinels in the background. First of all, it is so long overdue to finally see a Sentinel properly done in live action. There was a brief Easter egg of one in The Last Stand, but that was only in the Danger Room, so it doesn't count. And then we finally got to see them in Days of Future Past, but in the spirit of the rest of the Fox universe, I think they looked ugly and got the proportions all wrong. So knowing that Doomsday is not only going to include the Sentinels, but finally show just how intimidating they're supposed to be as they destroy the entire X-Mansion is insane. It's gonna be mind-blowing to see the X-Men have to go up against this giant robot trying to destroy them. And I don't think that's gonna be a flashback either. That shot of Cyclops goes way too hard for it to not be a huge moment in the film. I could see a scenario where Dr. Doom is controlling them or something, and he's using them to wipe out the X-Men to try and stop this incursion that's happening. I don't know, I'm not a writer. But I feel like they're going to play a pivotal role in this movie, so I'm glad that they're finally going to look like they should. And while we're on the topic of Cyclops, I can confidently say that this is already better than anything he did in all of the Fox X-Men movies combined, and I am so serious about that. Seeing him let out such an insane optic blast already shows me that the Russos understand how much of a beast Scott is supposed to be. Not the blue one, you know what I mean. I'm trying to say that Scott Summers has that dog in him. He is the guy when it comes to the X-Men, so it makes me beyond happy to see him doing something so cool, especially after how bad those movies nerfed him. I have a very, very strong love-hate relationship with the Fox X-Men movies, considering the fact that I grew up with them and didn't know any better at the time, but as I've become more knowledgeable about the X-Men, I can't go back and revisit them because it infuriates me how poorly they mishandled him. The Cyclops disrespect from the first movie in that universe to the last was so upsetting. They made the leader of the X-Men, the backbone of the entire mutant agenda, an actual nobody. They made him look pathetic as hell, all to uplift Wolverine, and we have all been worse off because of it. The people don't understand how cool Cyclops is supposed to be because they cucked him out at every chance until they had the audacity to kill him off screen. Oh god, just thinking about it genuinely makes me angry. My fists are actually balled up in rage right now. That's not a joke. James Marsden should have been generational casting. He should have been in the conversation with people like Robert Downey Jr., J.K. Simmons, and Iman Vellani, but instead, he was just thought of as the original Potential Man. So to see him come back and get a chance to play the real Cyclops makes this entire movie worth it. I am so incredibly happy for him. He deserves this moment to shine and prove everybody wrong. Especially because he looks perfect. Oh my god, man, look at that gorgeous costume. I have waited my entire life to finally see Cyclops look like Cyclops in live action. And the final scene in X-Men Apocalypse doesn't count. That costume looks like a mess, and then they gave him pajamas in the next movie anyways. Besides, it's so much better that James Marsden gets to be the first Cyclops to wear that costume in live action. And the wait was absolutely worth it. This is better than I ever could have dreamed of. None of that boring, ugly black leather. We are leaving that in the past. This is a Cyclops who proudly wears that bright blue costume, down to the thigh straps and shoulder belts as well. Or whatever they're called. I don't know the technical term for this, but it looks so sick, doesn't it? He feels like he was ripped straight out of a Jim Lee drawing. And despite being the die-hard Trunks defender I might be, this is one of the few superhero costumes that doesn't even need the trunks to work, since the colors of the belt and the thigh straps balance everything out really well. So I would not hesitate to say that this is a flawless costume. I have no notes. God, man, I'm just sitting here smiling looking at this. I'm so happy that Cyclops is finally being treated like the badass he is. The Cyclops PR team has been working overtime showing everyone that Scott Summers has always been him. First with X-Men 97 putting him back on the map, and now an Avengers movie getting more eyes on him than ever. The Cyclops century of humiliation is finally over. Long live the Scott Summers redemption tour. And thankfully he's not the only one in a new fit, because Charles and Eric are looking their best in this movie. Sorry, it feels so wrong to call him Eric. That man was born Magneto to me. That being said, no matter how many times I see them play chess together, it will never get old. You gotta wonder though, do they just not know any other games exist? Checkers? Maybe a little backgammon? Let's get them on Fortnite. Now that would be crazy. We get to see less of their outfits in the teaser, but what we do see is a really nice blend of their comic costumes and the stylistic choices of the Fox movies. It's a nice compromise between the two to still be recognizably those characters while giving them their looks from the comics. Charles' jacket with the X logo on it is so clean. It feels like a blend of his look in Excalibur along with the animated series, all while keeping that signature black leather look this universe is known for. As much as I do love to see Professor X dressed to the nines in his suit, this outfit screams that he's battle ready to me, which really shows just how much shit has hit the fan. But Magneto, oh man, Magneto's look is what really interests me between the two, as he's rocking some long hair and looks so good with it. By the way, I still can't process the fact that they got Ian McKellen back for this. I don't know how many zeros they had to add to that check to make this happen, but I am so glad they did, because he was incredible as Magneto. We're getting a Magneto who isn't afraid of the color red now. The only thing cooler than how he looks is the incredibly hard line he narrates this trailer with. Okay, I'm gonna embarrass myself with a Magneto impression. Here we go. Death comes for us all. It's all I know for sure. The question isn't, are you prepared to die? The question is, who will you be when you close your eyes? I'm so sorry you had to hear that, but I already committed to the bit. Regardless of how bad that was, what an incredible few lines. Stephen McFeely is earning his keep as writer. This short speech goes a very long way to set the stakes of the film and sell how tense things are as the end is near and the doomsday clock inches closer to midnight. Magneto has already accepted the fact that he's going to die and is doing everything he can to do the right thing before then. It lets you know that things are going down, but more importantly, it shows Magneto's growth and doubles down on his redemption arc. The fact that he's concerned with who you are when you die is a huge indication to me that he wants to be on the right side of history before he meets his end. I love that he's the one delivering this speech because it's such a smart and subtle way to further his progression, especially considering that Magneto's fate is completely unknown after the events of Days of Future Past, so I think it's nice to know that he eventually worked it all out with Charles. And hey, who knows, perhaps Ian McKellen's wish even came true. Wouldn't that be a treat? Would be an awesome introductory scene for them in Doomsday. You know what? While we're on the topic of the X-Men timeline, I'm gonna try and figure out what timeline this version of the X-Men is from without blowing my brains out. The Fox X-Men timeline is historically a nightmare of tangled up continuity that does not make any sense. Every single movie is in conflict with the other with vague whispers of what is and isn't canon. Even the smallest amount of critical thinking makes the entire thing fall apart. The Young prequel trilogy literally contradicts everything that came before, all while insisting it is in continuity with the rest. It is actually crazy to me how little they've cared, and it has driven me insane over the years trying to sort this whole thing out. Thankfully, I've got this chart my friend made to help us out along this journey. Days of Future Past does its best to make sense of this whole thing, but it is still so needlessly convoluted. Logan went back in time and stopped Trask from dying to prevent a mutant genocide, thus giving the original Fox X-Men cast a good ending. One that also erased most of their movies from happening in the first place, but whatever. That branch basically goes and creates two separate timelines from here on out. One is the original timeline where the events of the original trilogy occur and the X-Men all die in a dystopian future. The other is the revised timeline where the Young trilogy and the Deadpool movies both happen. The unfortunate part is that X-Men Origins Wolverine is canon to all of these, even though their Emma Frost ruins this whole thing, and Professor X can walk in that movie despite the fact that he's paralyzed in the younger timeline, and that's not even taking into account the bad de-aging CGI in his face. But who cares at this point? This is a nonsense timeline that will never work. But getting that all out of my system, the X-Men we are seeing in Doomsday need to be from the revised timeline. Taking into account all the different elements Marvel has pulled from to make this happen, it is the only way this can work. Even if, canonically, the X-Men age rapidly over the course of 5 years, and Mystique is both dead and alive like some kind of Schrodinger's cat, considering she was confirmed for Doomsday, and Deadpool makes Logan canon somehow bridging both timelines together, and I'm going to lose my mind because it's such a mess. Deep breaths, deep breaths. The X-Men need to be in the revised timeline because Kelsey Grammer's Beast was in the Marvels, and he was alive in that timeline along with everything going right with Charles and Eric. Charles and Magneto. I feel like I'm doing something wrong calling him Eric. Due to the fact that that timeline actually gets to progress into the future and Kelsey Grammer's Beast is there, it is safe to assume that is the timeline Monica Rambeau ends up in, considering the character who appears in that universe and the iconography are the exact same. So long story short, after several mental breakdowns to get here, this is the Earth 10005 X-Men from the revised timeline we are seeing here. And pretty much all of these characters are alive at that point. Oh god, why did they do that? Or at least I can take solace in the fact that all that stress will be worth it when we finally get to see this X-Men get a proper ending. Even if it is very funny to think that this is like, what, the third or fourth ending the X-Men have had in live action, but with a universe as messy as the Fox X-Men, they need a proper send-off that actually lets them be the X-Men first. I know I've talked a big game in the past about how I'm worried that Avengers Doomsday is going to lean way too heavily into nostalgia, so on the surface, it might sound a little hypocritical of me to get excited for the X-Men being in this movie because that's basically nostalgia. But here's the thing. I think there's a defining difference between something like bringing back Steve Rogers and bringing back the X-Men. Steve is a character who was a resident of the MCU, had his own great ending, and passed the torch onto someone else who should be in that spotlight. Meanwhile, the Fox X-Men come from another universe, introducing characters we've never seen in the MCU, and create a very natural conflict. For as much as I want to see the MCU reboot with a new X-Men cast, I think it makes perfect sense to bring the Fox actors back for Doomsday and Secret Wars. For this incursion story to work, we need to care about both universes. There aren't any stakes or drama if it's the MCU up against some universe we've never heard of. But when you bring the Fox X-Men into the mix, these characters with a pre-established history that makes no sense, but it's still beloved by people around the world, I think it's really smart to use that popularity to raise the stakes. Audiences intrinsically care about those X-Men. Is it nostalgia to bring them back? Yeah, absolutely. But they're weaponizing it in a way that creates a compelling conflict. We don't want to see those X-Men die, especially if they're finally being done right with proper iconography that actually fits the X-Men. And with Monica currently being trapped in their universe, it's such a natural way to continue that incursion story and bring them into the film. They have already laid the groundwork and set the seeds for this incursion to happen, so you might as well build off of it and do it in a way that creates tension and drama for these characters. It also helps that unlike characters like Steve Rogers, the Fox X-Men never lived up to their full potential. This is a chance for them to finally have that moment. The MCU isn't going out of their way to undo endings or rewrite character arcs. They're just building off of the uncertainty that came before and giving them a proper ending, as this big climax of the saga is a love letter to the past Marvel universes that came before as we make way for the future with a soft reboot that introduces us to the mutant saga. This is a really nice way to do them justice before they all get recast and give us a reason to care about the incursion. I'm only human. I'm not immune to nostalgia, but especially when it's seemingly done right like this is going to be. I don't have a problem with this kind of nostalgia when it makes narrative sense and is giving us something we've never seen before. It's also just gonna be sick as hell to see them back. Sometimes hype moments and aura are okay, especially when you got a good story to match. This teaser is by far the best one they've done, and that says a lot because I loved the Thor teaser, but this one does a really good job of helping you understand the stakes of the movie and showing us things we have never seen before. There are more hints and clues of what the plot of this movie might actually be, which is very exciting to theorize about, all while making all of our dreams come true. I mean, just look at that costume one more time and tell me it doesn't make all of this worthwhile. And to think there's still at least one more trailer to go after this this one, and it's finally going to focus on the Fantastic Four in the Doctor Doom movie, and a little taste of Wakanda while we're at it. Oh boy, we are in for a treat. If Marvel were smart, they would give us one teaser every single week up until the Super Bowl when we finally get the big one. They absolutely have enough characters to do that, and I think it would be such a fun way to build hype, but I'll try not to be too greedy and just enjoy the 4 teasers we already have. Oh my god, I wasn't supposed to show that. Oh no, Kevin Feige's gonna kill me. He's gonna take my knees and beat me to death with them. I need to go run and hide and change my identity. It's been nice knowing you guys. You're never gonna see me again. Why don't you just let me know down below your thoughts on this X-Men teaser? I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Please do it in my memory. Kevin Feige's gonna skin me alive, so I can't threaten you, and I really have to go, so please just do it. It's the right thing after I showed you that leak.